everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's recipe, I'm making twice baked potatoes appetizer style. So what that means is I'm using the baby gold potatoes that are nice and small, and it makes for a perfect finger food appetizer for, let's say, your next party. And the best thing about this is that you can make these ahead of time, freeze them, and then the day of your party you can bring them out and bake them in the oven and they come out just like they were made. So I'm Rockin' Robin and I'm going to show you how to do it right after this. Okay, now let's go over our ingredients. First off, we have our baby gold potatoes here. Now I picked the bag had some really tiny ones, but I went for ones that were just like, you know, nice finger-sized foods. Next we'll need some yellow onion, which I've diced up already. Now, don't let this intimidate you. It looks like a lot of onion, but when we caramelize these onions, they are going to cook down to probably at least half of what you see here, and maybe even a little less. And you know, if you have a little leftovers, caramelized onions are always just great in just about everything. All right, so we need some bacon. I've got a little bit of butter here, everything's organic pretty much. Cream cheese, sour cream over here. I have some milk. Now you can use any type of milk that you would like. This is just to get the consistency that we want it to be, you know, soften up but not too runny. We're gonna add a little bit of cheese. I grated my own cheese here just because when you buy cheese that's already grated, it has a lot of other things in it than just cheese, right? It has some mold inhibitors and anti-caking ingredients. I prefer to go with just plain old cheese, so I grate my own. It just takes 5 minutes. I'm going to use a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic powder, and we'll garnish these, which is optional, with a little bit of parsley. So to start off our recipe, we need to do two things at the same time, basically. So we're going to roast our potatoes, which are going to take about 45 to 50 minutes in the oven. At the same time, we'll be caramelizing our onions, which takes, again, you know, 45 to 50 minutes. That's how we get that nice flavor, that nice rich flavor in those onions. So to start off, I'm going to coat my potatoes here with some olive oil first, and then we're going to poke holes in the skin, just a few with a fork, so that they don't explode when they're baking in the oven. Then with our caramelized onions, we're going to start, as soon as we put those in the oven, then I'm going to heat up my pan and get a large frying pan. We're going to add about 3 tablespoons of olive oil to the pan, and then I'm going to add the onions and start them at about medium-high temperature. Once they get hot and you can see things are getting along, then we'll lower the temperature down, and I usually end up keep lowering it as the time goes on. And you want to stir these frequently so that they don't, you know, overburn. We want to just cook them nice and slow is the saying for these. All right, so let's have a look at our onions. These have been cooking now for an hour. You can see how much they have cooked down. It's incredible, huh? I probably have a quarter of what I started with. And they're nice and golden brown. These are going to be fantastic. So I'm going to stop now. I could go longer, but I think that's good enough. And I'm going to set these aside in a bowl and let them cool off. All right, so here's our potatoes after about 45 minutes. And I'm going to test them with a fork. That's what you want to do. Now that went in nice. So I think these are done. So I'm going to pull them out to cool. Okay, so the potatoes are done. They've been cooling now so that I can touch them. The onions are done caramelizing. They're just sitting here waiting aside. So now we're ready to take our potatoes and we're going to cut them in half. So you want to cut them in half so that you've got two surfaces that, you know, will lay flat basically like that. All right, so now we're done slicing those. We'll take a melon baller. I have a small one here, and I'm just going to scoop out the flesh. And I want to leave like a 1/4 of an inch of potato in the shell so that it has some structure to it. It'll be much firmer and easier to eat and hold and, you know, fill. So next up, I've got my bacon frying in the pan behind me on the stove. I just laid the pieces in the pan and I'm cooking it over medium-low heat. I like to cook mine a little bit lower than, say, some people do. I like it to get it nice and crispy, and I like to keep my pieces nice and flat. Now it's time to make our filling. Everything goes in our bowl. I got the potatoes in here. I'm going to add the caramelized onions. Add the sour cream, the cream cheese, just a little bit of that. And I've got some softened butter here. We're gonna mix that in. I'm gonna pour in now. The milk is a variable, so we're gonna add I'm gonna add a little bit right now, and then we're gonna mix it up, and we're gonna see what kind of consistency we get, and then we can always add more. Now, before I mix this with the mixer, I like to do a hand masher just to kind of get things going. And I'm gonna add some of that cheese that I had grated up. Now we need to add a little bit of salt. Not too much, guys, because the cheese is salty enough. So just a little bit of salt and garlic powder. And a little pepper. Now you can use a hand mixer or not, it depends on your preference. I think I'm not even going to bother with it myself because I like the consistency that I'm getting. All right, so now I'm going to add the bacon to our mixture. Now we take our mixture and we just start filling our little cups. You want to mound it up, but you don't want to put too much. Okay, just a nice little mound like that. It's kind of like making deviled eggs. That's what it reminds me of. Well, I even have some filling left over in the bowl, so I'm just going back and kind of topping some of these off. So now I'm going to place these on my tray. Actually, I have 2 trays here, and the reason I have 2 trays is that I'm going to freeze most of these appetizers for a party that's coming up for me in about a week. And so I'm just going to cook up a couple right now for you guys and show you how the final result looks. I'll put those over here. But these freeze nicely, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting them, serving these at my party. So the last thing we can do here is add some cheese on top. Now the ones that I'm going to cook right now are going to go back in the oven 350 degrees, and since they've cooled off some, they'll probably be in there about 15 minutes or so, just until the cheese melts and everything's warmed up. I'm going to place this one in the oven. Okay, so like I said, if you want to make these ahead of time, I'm going to put these in the freezer for an hour so that they firm up and they won't stick to each other, so that I can then stack them and repackage them for the freezer. And I'm going to keep mine for about a week because next week's my party, and it's going to be great because I can just pop these out, bring them to room temperature, leave them out for about maybe an hour, hour and a half before you want to pop them in the oven, and that way they'll heat up a little quicker. It'll probably take about 35 minutes or so, just depends, at a 350 degree Fahrenheit oven, and you'll be good to go. All right, so I'm gonna put these in the freezer. All right, our little appetizers are done. They're heated up, nice and hot. And let me put one over there to cool off because it's kind of hot. And I've got a little parsley I chopped up here. This is optional, guys. It just makes it look pretty. I'm gonna cut this up so that I don't have to burn my fingers. Oh yeah. I love these mini little twice baked potatoes, guys. These are good, delicious appetizer. Your guests are gonna love them. I hope you try them. And if you do, leave me a comment. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, be sure and click that button up there or the one down below, and you can subscribe and be notified every week when a new video comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the recipe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.